Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. If your project looks healthy, that doesn't mean it is. See, most projects don't lose money when the budget turns red. They lose it while everything still looks green. But let me explain with an example. Imagine a car journey. You plan a long trip, you map the route, and you calculate the fuel you need. About a quarter of the way through the journey, the fuel gauge shows you roughly use a quarter of the tank. Perfectly on track, you relax. All indicators are green. Everything looks aligned with the plan. But then, to your dismay, about 3/4 of the way through the journey, you run out of fuel. I mean, how could that happen? Everything looked good. You planned it so carefully. Now, what I just described can happen just as easily with a project budget. You look at actual cost versus planned cost. You calculate CPI. You run an estimate at completion and an estimate at complete. And everything looks fine. And yet the project still runs massively over budget. Going back to our car example, we were only checking the fuel gauge, a lagging indicator. We never looked at fuel efficiency, a leading indicator. We didn't consider that further ahead the roads were slow and winding, making the car far less fuel efficient and causing it to burn more fuel. We didn't consider that the weather forecast had changed and colder conditions were reducing the engine efficiency even further. Then we were asked to pick up additional passengers. That wasn't planned, and their luggage added weight, removing the small margin we thought we already had. See, nothing was wrong with the fuel gauge. What changed were the assumptions behind the plan. But the time the fuel gauge told us there was a problem, it was already too late. The conclusion we drew earlier was wrong because we ignored the leading indicators, road conditions, weather, and passenger load. You see, the same thing can happen with a project budget. We may focus on project spend versus target, earned value metrics, but ignore leading indicators. Indicators such as requirement stability, showing by an increase in number of change requests, design rework or churn, a slow rate of issue resolution, increase in complexity from vendors and contractors, or even external dependencies. Or worse, a growing number of high-risk items without mitigation plans. But on paper, on budget, everything still looks green. But cut that watermelon and deep inside you'll see red. But it's not as easy as it sounds to define the right leading indicators. You see, unlike a vehicle where characteristics like fuel efficiency are fixed and well understood, every project is different, and it's down to the skill of the project manager to determine which leading indicators really matter. You see, it's just as important to convince stakeholders that action is needed before the numbers turn red. You see, lagging indicators are generally easy to communicate and easy to understand. When they go red, everyone agrees the project is in trouble. And to be clear, I'm not saying you shouldn't use lagging indicators. You absolutely should. But they're not enough on their own. Indicators such as issue resolution, capability, design churn, testing capability, and so on are also important. And they reveal critical truths about the state of the project long before the project moves. You see, there are many others and they will differ from project to project. So in conclusion, it's just as important to focus on leading indicators as it is on lagging indicators, even though identifying the leading indicators for a project is usually harder and requires more work because it's specific to every different project. So I hope you enjoyed this video and thanks for watching.